Okay, so we will get started. Welcome, everyone. It's really a pleasure to have you with us today as we talk about History Places Day that is just coming up. As we know, a lot of history places right now that are usually participating in the event are either still closed to the public or maybe under social distancing measures. So there's a lot of new things happening that we need to shift. And as this year with History Places Day, we've been encouraging places to go more online, organize online events. And by going more online, it also means that we're able to attract a more broader audience. We can attract more millennials and more of the younger generation to come and discover our sites and from all over the country as well. So that's why this year, the National Trust for Canada has reunited a group of millennials that we call our Millennial Advisory Group. And today they are here to present with us a few ideas and tips on how we can attract more millennials to come and discover history places and how to use online features to our advantage to reach that audience. So I have a few of my colleagues with me. So we have Sonia Krutmagen, that is the manager of digital marketing strategies, marketing and digital strategies, I believe. And Eleanor Mackey, that is a special assistant for Canada History Places Day. Myself, Vanessa Arsenault, I'm the communications manager at the National Trust. And as part of our Millennial Advisory Group, we also have Irene Gallia and Molly Pendergast. All right, so I will invite Eleanor to take on from here.
Thanks, Vanessa. Alrighty. So, Canada Historic Places Day is a national celebration hosted on the Saturday after the Canada Day weekend that shines a spotlight on historic places from coast to coast to coast. The tagline for the event is "Every place, a story," because that's how our historic places come alive for Canadians. The program is hosted by the National Trust for Canada and supported in part by Parks Canada Agency. So welcome to today's webinar. I'm just going to take you through a little walkthrough of some of the technical features that you'll see. Note both the chat and the Q&A features that can be accessed in the drop-down menu at the top left corner of your screen. And you can use the chat feature to share comments and ideas with the group and let us know if you're experiencing any technical difficulties. So you can also use the Q&A feature to log questions for our presentations today, and the presenters will discuss them later on. And we'll also leave your questions till the end in the open forum that we'll have. So please note that we'll also send you the slides from today's webinar, so don't feel that you have to furiously copy out all of the text. We'll have that available for you later on. So the National Trust for Canada is a national charitable non-for-profit organization that leads and inspires action for places that matter. We have a long track record of working with communities to save and renew historic places, and we have a team that's passionate about helping you succeed. At the National Trust, we're on a mission to bring heritage to life in more ways than one. We get people excited about places that matter, places that connect us to our roots and improve quality of life. We provide tools to save and renew historic places and a treasure trove of destinations to visit and discover. You can learn more about our programs and the benefits of becoming a member at nationaltrustcanada.ca. And slide. This event was started in 2017, and it's now in its 4th year. It has grown steadily since that time, and last year, 557 historic places participated, varying in size and interest from large historic sites to small one-room schools. Through social media promotion and national news coverage, we were able to garner 3.4 million impressions last year, which is a large number of increase over 2 million impressions in 2018 and 1 million impressions in 2017. So we've been growing quite steadily. And hopefully, with your help, we'll be able to grow exponentially this year. So here's just a few examples of some social media coverage from last year. The social media campaign is expansive, and it includes not only both parks and National Trust social media channels, but also ministers, social media influencers, and Canadian families alike. So without further ado, I'll hand you over to our hosts, Molly and Irene.
Okay, hello everyone. Nice to see some familiar names in the chat. Maybe we sent some emails back and forth last year as I was the Special Projects Assistant for 2019. So let's go. Millennial motivations. So if you're here, it's probably because you're considering hosting some events for young people to attract them to events for your organization. In a little bit, Molly is going to introduce some technology that you can consider using, some live events, some social media techniques. But first, we wanted to touch on some of the motivations of why millennials would want to engage with your organization at all, and some of the reasons why they might attend an online meeting. And I think that someone will have to click the next slide. Thank you very much. So we've broken down millennial motivations, and this also goes for Gen Z, younger people, into 6 categories that you can see here: interest, experiences, community, network, brand, and exclusivity. And as Eleanor said, this will all be included on a tip sheet that the National Trust will very kindly be providing after the event. Let's jump in. So interest, it's very broad, and we like to think that this is the motivation that underpins all engagement that any of your participants, audience have with you. Young people like history, not all of them, of course, but the ones who do enjoy history and learning about stories about the past of their cities or things that relate to them are already primed to engage with your organization online. Let's go to experiences. So young people really care about having new experiences, trying new things, and usually that might manifest itself in events, but at the moment, since that's not possible, they're looking for things to break up the monotony of sitting at home with a laptop as we wait for historic sites across the country to open up again. Going forward to community. Young people really like to have a community or a group of friends or a network of people who care about the same thing as them. And this is particularly true of people who enjoy history. And in my own experience, I've definitely seen that young people will go out of their way to join clubs or societies or become members of associations that support an element of history that is particularly of interest to them. And they're very willing to join social media channels that discuss and grow a community around a topic of interest for them. Okay, next to network. So believe it or not, us young people are thinking about our careers, and we don't want one size fits all advice. What we really want to do is make connections with people who already have careers in the areas that we're interested in, to learn from their career paths, get personal advice, and perhaps even make connections that will benefit our career in the long run. And those who are interested in a career in heritage or culture, perhaps even tourism, would like to get to know you and your organization to see if there's an opportunity for them to work perhaps for you or with you in the future. Next to brand. So of course, young people are infamous for caring a lot about the image they project. And usually this is done through social media. Millennials, more than any other age group, share a lot of content about themselves on social media, and they like to share what they're getting up to and what their interests are, partially as a way of branding themselves for professional purposes, perhaps to get that job they want, but also so that they can let the people, their friends, know their personal priorities and interests, and attract people with similar interests. And finally, exclusivity. So young people like things that are exclusive, never seen before, members only, limited edition, because they like to feel special. Don't we all? But I find that's particularly true with young people. So, all right, we've given you 6 reasons why young people might be interested in engaging with you and your events. And you might be saying, okay, what is Irene droning on about? If you understand the reasons why young people would be interested in getting to know your organization and attending your events, when it comes to choosing what sort of event you'll be hosting and what topics you'll be covering, you can base those ideas on these millennial motivations in a way that also help you reach your organizational goals of attracting young people. So we'll touch on that in a little bit, but first Molly's going to come on and introduce some ways that you can use technology to engage with young people. Molly?
Thanks, Irene. Hopefully my audio is okay. I have a little issue with my headphones, so hopefully I'm loud and clear and you guys can hear me. But yes, I am going to tackle some tech tips. So essentially how to host an online event using Zoom, Facebook or Instagram Live, and social media. So hosting a virtual event online can definitely feel intimidating. They have quickly become the new normal for navigating through COVID-19 and continuing to engage followers and communities. But that being said, there are lots of resources and tips that you can use to make sure your event goes as smoothly as it can. So today, I'm going to just give an overview of, again, Zoom, then Facebook or Instagram Live, and then we'll finish off with social media. So I'll get the slide to be changed. So the basics of Zoom. Zoom is a video conferencing service that allows you to host live virtual meetings. So much like what we're doing right now, and we're using Zoom. Zoom exploded in popularity a couple of months ago following the coronavirus outbreak. And it's a really great option when planning more intimate events. So that could be a roundtable discussion, some kind of a talk, or again, a webinar like we're doing right now. And just to be transparent before I go any further, I do want to mention that Zoom, it does kind of require a little bit of a learning curve, maybe for some people. So again, just maybe a bit more difficult to get the hang of, but with a little bit of investment into learning the basics, it should be absolutely fine. Zoom is free to use at a basic level. There are some limitations to a free account though, and I want to let you know about those. So with a free account, you can host up to 100 participants in a call, but the call will be limited to 40 minutes. So if you know that your event is going to go longer than 40 minutes, or there will be more than 100 people attending, you may want to look at Zoom's paid account options. And as well, if you're going to host an event on Zoom, you will be required to download the Zoom program to your desktop or mobile device. And the reason I mention that is because I always run into issues with storage on my computer or on my phone. So you want to make sure you have enough storage to be able to download the program. You don't run into any issues there. So when you schedule a Zoom meeting, a really great benefit is that you can add it to your Google Calendar, Outlook Calendar, or Yahoo Calendar. So you're keeping people in the loop that way. And you also have the opportunity to present PowerPoint slides in Zoom like we're doing right now. And that's, of course, a great way to engage people with graphics or videos, anything visual. So that's a really great benefit. When hosting on Zoom, and again, I feel like I'm talking a lot about the things that are happening right now, but you have the ability to mute and unmute yourself, as well as turn your video on and off. So again, for maybe a more intimate event, it can definitely limit distractions and make things probably more comfortable for the host. And if you do decide to do a webinar or an event on Zoom, the National Trust for Canada wanted to share that they find Wednesday and Thursday work best, followed by Tuesday for hosting days. And hosting at lunchtime for an hour, like we're doing right now, is a really great way to make sure people from different provinces are able to tune in. And this year, Canada Historic Places Day is on a Saturday. So I think that if you're hosting something and you are advertising it like a couple of weeks in advance, people should be quite accessible to reach online. We'll get you to move to the next slide. So here we have just an example I took from YouTube of a Zoom call. This is if you have quite a few participants. As you can see, most of them have their video on, but at the bottom, there are some who have their video off. So that's kind of what a typical larger Zoom call would look like. We'll go to the next slide. So now I want to talk about live streaming video with Instagram and Facebook. So Facebook and Instagram definitely both offer the ability for accounts to live stream events. As long as you have an account, you will be able to live stream video without a limit on time, which is important to note. So Facebook and Instagram could be a really great option if you're hosting events that are maybe a little bit more laid back or informal. And for example, that might be a virtual tour of your place. And like I said, for Zoom, just to be transparent, Facebook and Instagram Live are fairly user-friendly and definitely require less learning time than Zoom does. So that could be a factor in things as well for you. Facebook will allow you to stream from a computer or mobile device, while Instagram will allow you to stream only from a mobile device. On Facebook, you can schedule your live stream video ahead of time, which is a really great idea. And on Instagram, you unfortunately can't schedule a video ahead of time, but your followers will receive a notification on the app when you do go live. And unlike on Zoom, Facebook and Instagram live streams typically only allow viewers to see your video. So that's another big difference. Depending on the accounts you have, your followers, and the target audience for your type of event, you may want to choose between either streaming live video on Facebook or Instagram. But I have to note alternatively, if you have more than one person you're working with for the event, and you have more than one computer or mobile device, then you can definitely stream your event on Facebook and Instagram, and that way your reach is going to be that much larger. So I'll get you to go to the next slide. So I just wanted to add some examples. This is a Facebook live stream from Black Creek Pioneer Village. They did it a couple of weeks ago, and essentially they had a recipe, I think it was scones, and they were baking live online, and people were commenting and able to ask questions. So that's an example of what a Facebook live stream kind of video event could look like. We'll go to the next slide. So this screenshot is of an Instagram live stream video that the Canadian Museum of Nature did last summer. And essentially they had kind of this costume of a blow up creature, and they were going around downtown Ottawa and live streaming that experience so more people could tune in, you know, if they weren't there watching it in person. So those are just two examples of what a Facebook Live and an Instagram Live could look like. So we'll go to the next slide now. So I just wanted to touch on two key things to remember when hosting a live video event. The first key thing is interacting with viewers. So on Zoom, Facebook, and Instagram, viewers are able to make comments while watching live video. And this is a really great way to connect with your followers and cultivate that relationship further. If you have the ability to, I would definitely recommend designating one person to watch over the comments section, and either respond to comments there or perhaps prompt the host to respond in real time if that's appropriate. And this is just going to help to ensure there are no long, awkward pauses during the video if the host is trying to check the comments every couple of minutes. And the second key thing is preparing in advance. So although your event is online, it definitely still requires careful planning and an action plan for rolling the event out. So you may want to create a checklist with a just note of each thing you need to make the event a success. I would also recommend watching some detailed tutorials on YouTube that walk you step by step through the process of Zoom or live streaming video on Facebook or Instagram, that could be a really helpful resource for you. So I'll get you to go to the next slide now. And the last thing that I wanted to touch on is alternatives to live video events and instead hosting on your social media platforms. And there will be a discussion later on in this webinar about event inspiration and ideas. So I want to keep this section fairly short and sweet. But essentially, if you don't want to or you feel uncomfortable hosting an event with live video online, you can definitely always look to your social media platforms, like I said, your Facebook page, Instagram account, etc. You can explore options like perhaps photo projects. It could be kind of an artifact of the week style thing. Hosting a discussion online where folks can comment. Pre-recorded video also works. So there's a lot of room for creativity there. And choosing what platform you use will depend on the event and the people that you want to be targeting and where your followers are. So for example, Twitter might be best to host a discussion where people can talk back and forth, while Facebook might be your best option for, if you wanted to post pre-recorded video or photos. But yeah, so hopefully that was somewhat helpful. And thank you for listening to my tips, and I'll pass the mic back to Irene.
Thank you, Molly. Yeah, so as Molly said, we do have some ideas for you on how to come up with an event topic and how this will help you, as I said, meet your own organizational goals. So in a little bit, Eleanor is going to come on and talk about some examples of what some sites in Canada are doing this year. But first, we're going to talk about what you might think of doing. And to start, I'd like to, mention a couple ideas that you have of including young people in your own event coverage. And for your own organization, your goal might be to foster general interest among young people, to build your brand and community around young people, perhaps to increase your membership or volunteer base, or perhaps even to increase your site visitation once things have opened up again. I'm sure that there are several other motivations, but we'll be covering these in the next few minutes. Next slide. And again, this is when the millennial motivations come in, because we'll be planning the events around these motivations. So if your focus is on fostering interest, you'll be thinking about the first two motivations, which are interest and experience. So young people are interested and they want to be learning new things and attending things to break the monotony of their everyday life right now. And the best way that you can engage them is to tell a story about your site. And this might be a live tour using Facebook or Instagram Live, or even through Zoom if you have a mobile camera. And perhaps telling a story that will interest young people, perhaps that relates to current affairs, something that's going on in the news. If you feel like you have a story that relates to that and that will increase their learning in some way, or perhaps a notable anniversary, 100 years per se of a person or a place, something to draw them in. And you could also consider hosting a webinar where you can teach something like a skill that was used at that particular site in the past, or show them something that you do. So maybe that's walking them through a restoration happening at your site right now. Maybe it's the curation of an exhibit or the restoration of an artifact at your museum. And this will grab them because they are interested and because they want to have new experiences. And next slide, please. Okay, and so maybe you're interested in fostering some community. Maybe you want to build up your membership among young people. And so for this, we're going to tap into the motivations of community and networking, as well as brand. So as I mentioned before, young people like to feel like they're part of a community of people who have similar interests. And because of the interactive features that you can use in technology, as Molly was saying, Q&As, engaging with your followers through social media, you should really be showing them that you're not just an organization or a historic site, but you're a group of people who really care about the same thing as they do, and engage with them online in a way that might not have been possible without technological mediation. So maybe that's bringing on an executive or a board member to talk to your audience about what it's like to be in that role. Maybe their career path is something that young people would be interested in seeing. Or maybe you have a person in the heritage trades who can offer insight into education paths or what sort of career options are out there. You might also volunteer, highlight your volunteer opportunities so that students know how they can get involved, and young people can consider joining to get the full range of features that you offer for young people. Perhaps you have specials for young families who want to teach young kids and help them learn and grow about history as well. For a simpler technological solution, you could plan an Instagram series that includes interactive segments like polls to give your audience an opportunity to share their experiences and questions as well. And next slide. If your goal is to increase visitation among young people, then with the video options available to you through live streaming, you could take your audience through secret areas or usually off limits areas of your historic site or your museum, or perhaps talk about things that happen behind the scenes of your organization if you don't have a site or museum that they might not know about. And this is going to tap into that millennial motivation for exclusivity and that desire to feel like they're getting a feature or an event that is exclusive to them. And of course, all of this should be shareable. Young people, as I mentioned before, really like to share how they're getting involved and get recognition for that. So any chance that you can have to provide your audience with an opportunity to share their involvement on social media means that not only are they engaging more closely with you, but they're sharing it to their audience as well. So now I'm going to turn it over to Eleanor, who's going to give us a couple more specific examples about what Canadian sites are doing.
Thanks, Irene. So I'm kind of your little commercial break in here. I'm just going to come in and talk about Historic Places Day. I just put up a few examples on the screen of some of our participating places and what they're doing this year. I've just noticed through looking at their social media profiles and as well as talking with them over emails, kind of themes that are happening within all of the events that are taking place. So just a reminder as well, we are looking to see if anybody would like to help us celebrate the launch of Historic Places Day, which is happening on Saturday, July 4th. If you have an event, you can post it on our website. It's just, you just have to register for this year and then you are able to post that event. And it would just help, you know, the engagement happen for that day. But you can also post an event throughout the entire Historic Places Day celebration, which is happening through July and August. So just a few little examples. Molly had brought one up before from Black Creek Village that fell into the same theme that I had found as well. A big theme is food this year. I think a lot of us are trying to figure out kind of new recipes, how to have fun with friends over, you know, video conferencing calls and stuff. You could share a recipe and make it at the same time. I find that that's a really good idea. Even like date nights or something, if you're socially distancing dating, it's a fun idea to have on a Friday night. So we have the Dalnavert Museum who was posting Victorian tea parties at home, how to organize that. And we also have the Colony of Avalon, who was posting their colonial cook-off that's actually happening throughout July, and that's starting on July 4th. Then we also have some places that are feeding in their events to contests that are currently going on with their sites. So that's a great idea to kind of boost engagement there. We have the Oil Museum of Canada who is promoting their mini models contest. So it's happening from this week actually on through July 12th. And that is just a great way to kind of get people involved with making crafts and sharing those crafts on social media, and then also having that opportunity to win a great prize. And then there's also the Dunvegan Provincial Park out in Alberta. And I noticed that they're doing a history mystery event. They usually do this in person, but this year they're doing it virtually. And it's an interactive event where you can sign up and register, and they'll send you clues, and you're solving this mystery as it goes along. So it's a great fun thing to kind of, again, share with your friends, that exclusivity and shareability that's kind of, that Irene has been talking about a lot. So those are just a few examples of some of the places that we have involved this year, and different levels of kind of posting on social media that you could do, and different types of events. So I'll pass it back on to you girls. Thanks.
Okay, so I am going to talk a little bit about online event promotion, and my tagline that I kind of came up with was cover your bases. So first there's social media promotion, next there's promoting on your website, and there is also email promotion, and all three are very important. And essentially my kind of, when I approach, and I do work as a communications professional now, when I approach things, essentially in every spot that you have a presence online, you do want to have some sort of information about your event there. People, especially millennials, I believe, really like it when you make things easy for them and it's easy to find information. So again, hitting all of your bases is important. So I'll get you to go to the next slide. So first we have social media. Using social media to promote your online event is, I would say, the top way to engage and connect with millennial followers, definitely, and lots of other individuals. Your aim should be to post several times a week. And if you really want to push your event, posting about it every second day should do the trick. I would definitely begin posting several weeks in advance if you're able. Or essentially whenever you have the final details kind of nailed down for your event, that's when you want to start promoting. And your social media posts should be using exciting language, interesting graphics, images, and videos to sell the event and to draw followers in. So I'll get you to change the slide here quickly. So essentially, I just wanted to highlight briefly this tool called Canva. It's something that I use a lot. It's one of my favorite things. But essentially, it's a user-friendly graphic design program. It's free to use. On the left, I have, or I guess maybe my left, I have a photo of kind of what the Canva website looks like. And then I also essentially just decided I was going to kind of make up a quick little example post using Canva. So if someone was hosting a question and answer with the director of a place, that post probably took me 5 minutes to create. It gives you graphics to use, really nice fonts, and a lot of templates. So I would definitely look into exploring Canva, and if that could be something useful for you. I'll get you to change the slide. So back to promoting on social media. If you're posting on social media about your event, chances are at least one person is going to comment or message you with a question. And like I kind of said before, I'm all about interacting with people online, and I would definitely encourage you to make an effort to answer all questions that people have, and perhaps like or respond to just the general comments as a way of recognizing people's support. This is something I find millennials will take note of, and they'll remember that next time they engage with you, which is, again, just great for cultivating a relationship with that big group of people. If you have a budget, I would recommend looking into options for sponsored posts on social media platforms. So for example, you can boost a post on Facebook using a budget that you set yourself, and that can be as little or as much as you want. So you have a lot of control there, but just could be a better way to reach more individuals. And last but not least, the National Trust does have a Historic Places Day social media toolkit. As far as I know right now, it's currently in the last stages of development, but it will be posted on the Historic Places Day website as soon as it's ready. And it has a ton of information you can use. So I highly recommend checking that out. We'll get you to go to the next slide. So promoting on your website, that's my base number 2. Is there a section on your website for news or updates about your place? If so, your event should definitely be listed there. Keeping an updated website ensures that those who may not be connected with you on social media are in the loop. And this could also include people who may be searching your place's name on Google for the first time. So it's just important to cover that base as well. And I'll get you to go to the next slide. So the last base I have is email. Email promotion is definitely important too. Do you have a monthly email newsletter that you send out or an email list that you use? If so, making sure to include news about your event in your email messaging is a great thing. And with email, typically you're going to be targeting those who are already engaged with you and what you do. And they're probably more likely to engage with your event as well. So definitely a spot that you don't want to miss when promoting an event. And that is it for me. I believe we have some time for questions, so I'll hand the mic back to someone else and we can go from there.
Yeah, awesome. Thank you very much, girls, for presenting everything. So now we'll have a little bit of time to answer questions. I see some people have already started sending some questions in the chat. So we either will answer live in just a few minutes, or we reply directly in the chat. So I'll give you just a few seconds to type in if you had any more questions that you wanted us to touch on. You can use the Q&A feature to type your questions in there, and we will answer there. Yeah, can you go to next slide? Yeah, perfect. Okay. Sounds good. And after the webinar as well, if you have any more questions or if you need any support, you can also reach out to the National Trust email specifically for Historic Places Day. So Historic Places Day at nationaltrustcanada.ca. Awesome. So you can stop the screen share now. Okay, so I saw in the chat there were a question about wanting to touch a little bit about TikTok. That's not a platform that we talked about yet, just because it's a new platform and TikTok is really tailored for a younger audience. And I know that it's very trendy right now. It's really growing. So it's definitely a good platform to be on. The only thing that I would say is that sometimes, you know, doing a few social media platforms in a good way is better than trying to do them all and you know, get yourself overwhelmed and then you end up not doing anything, or you're just spreading yourself thin. So if you do decide to put energy on TikTok, that's definitely something that would be interesting, and that there's tons of possibilities for you to get some engagement from your audience over there. But just make sure that you have the time and resources, and that you're able to put the energy towards this and not trying to do everything at the same time and then you end up doing nothing. But yeah, TikTok I think is definitely for a younger audience. What is nice with that is you basically create videos of about 10-15 seconds, I would say. And what is nice with that is for the younger generation that just tend to have a shorter attention, they just have to have a shorter attention for some things. For them to have a short, quick 15 seconds video about something fun, creative, maybe sharing your collection, maybe sharing something in your history site, that will definitely get them engaged and fun, and it's fun for them. They can just swipe from one video to the next. So that definitely keeps them entertained, and that's what the goal there would be. It might less be about educating or promoting your events, just because the type of platform is very different than Twitter or Facebook, where you can share more text. It's more to keep them entertained and engaged. So one way that you can do that is by just do something creative to maintain the relationship with them, entertainment, and attract a younger audience. Or and I say younger, it's not just young people, but it tends to be younger people on that platform. And then on your profile, you can have a couple of words about your site and a link to your site. So then once they develop that relationship with you and getting to know you on TikTok, then they can visit your website and learn more about your site. I don't know if there's anyone else that wanted to add something quickly. No, cool. I also saw, yeah.
Yeah, so I saw just now a question from Dwayne about how much time goes into planning and hosting a live stream virtual tour. And I would say that if you do something simple like with an iPhone or with a smartphone, going around your historic site, the only thing to keep in mind is how much you want to promote it to your audience. Maybe start 2 weeks ahead of time. As Molly said, every other day, put something in your social media story. And then if you feel quite confident that you can talk about your historic site without needing to prepare a script, then those sorts of events tend to be quite casual. So you really don't need to put too much time into making a very formal agenda. Young people who are watching these events know that they're more casual and they're okay with that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, if it's live and people are engaging, that's really nice. And there's also to consider that, for example, on Facebook or YouTube, your video when you go live will stay on afterwards. So people might be watching the replay. So that's also something to consider. That it's not because no one tuned in during your live that it means no one will watch it. There might be some people that will watch it after. But the thing is that, especially the younger generation, as I was mentioning before, will have a shorter time that they will stay interested in what you're doing. So it's not something that we would want. If it's a live on Facebook, for example, if you're talking for over an hour, then at some point we might lose people interest. They might watch, up to 10 minutes on your video. So keep it fun, keep it light, keep it entertaining, and as much as possible, the shorter better in that case. Yeah, and I wanted to come back on a question that was also in the chat for Instagram. I think they were asking, so basically it's harder for Instagram because you have to be a member to see the live stream after the event takes place. So from what I understand, so Instagram is a very different platform than Facebook and Twitter, and it's prioritizing mobile. So it's definitely just an application that you have on your phone. It's very different to use on a desktop. It's still possible, but it's not the same. It's very, very basic. So usually the goal is for people to have an account on Instagram. So if you don't have an account on Instagram and you're trying to watch something from someone else that they did, then it's definitely more challenging. You might not be able to see it. Although when you do an Instagram live, what is nice with this is that it's one of the only platforms that you're able to invite someone else. So you can do a live with someone else. So if you were to do an interview, if you wanted to collaborate with maybe someone else or one of your staff that is working from home, then you can do that. So that is nice for this. But after 24 hours, the live will disappear from your story. So when you do it, you can keep the live in your story on your profile for 24 hours. After that, it will disappear. What you can do to keep the live going afterwards is right before you click on publishing the live on your story, you can also decide to publish in a new feature that's now IGTV, which is a little bit like YouTube, but on Instagram. It's a way for you to publish videos. So you can keep your Instagram live in your IGTV, and then it will stay on your profile. People can still watch it later. They can still comment later. So that's also another really good way to keep your video in there. I hope that answered the question.
I saw that there was one other question. I know we're 3 minutes over, but from Catherine Biggs Craft, we are planning an online Jewish film festival in October. Any suggestions for reaching a younger or new audience? In addition to the techniques of sharing on social media that we've talked about today, you could also consider reaching out to Jewish student groups or other young organizations who might have a particular interest in that. And they might be willing to share it with their audience, or groups who are interested in film. It doesn't have to be one particular group. Any club or society that might have members that are interested in your content could almost work in a partnership to promote your content to their audience, and it benefits both of you. So that's one option.
Yeah, for any type of event that you're organizing as well, I think we might have touched on a little bit before as well, but to create a Facebook event is also something that's really interesting. You can then invite your audience to come to the event and post more information in there. So if there's anything new that's happening and people clicked that they were interested or going to your event, they will receive the notification as well. So it's also a good way to keep engaged with these people.
I just wanted to, Dwayne made a comment that's really great. It says, it's smart, it's wise to get younger people who are fluent in these technologies to help you. And it's always one of those things for heritage organizations to bring younger people into the fold. And this is one of the great ways to do it. It's easy for them. They don't feel stressed about it. And they'll be very fluent. And they care about the cause as well. It's a nice way to get them involved.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Well, I think that will be a wrap up for today. I will say thank you very much for Irene and Molly to be here with us and answer questions and give out some great tips and new perspective. I am writing in the chat right now the email that you can reach us at for any questions or support that you need for History Places Day. I really hope that this was useful, and we so look forward to see what you're going to be putting together for History Places Day. Thank you, everyone. Bye.